Wonderful. Thank you so much, Father. So first, I'm going to introduce Isaiah Walker. Isaiah Walker was born and raised in Hilo, Hawaii. After joining the LDS Church in 1990 and graduating from Hilo High School in 1991, he moved to Laie and attended BYU Hawaii. He served a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in San Diego, California from 1992 to 1994. In 1996, Isaiah married Rebecca Matangi of Laie, and they have 4 beautiful children. After graduating with a bachelor's in history from BYU Hawaii in 1997 and earning a master's degree from the University of Hawaii at Manoa, Isaiah completed a PhD from the University of California in Santa Barbara. Isaiah studies Hawaiian history and colonialism from a unique perspective from the vantage of Hawaiian surfers, focusing primarily on Hawaiian surfing. The club formed on the North Shore of Oahu in 1976. His dissertation analyzes the history of surfing, resistance, and masculinity in Hawaii. Contending that the ocean surfing realm was a sanctuary and borderland for Hawaiians, his research creatively analyzes a space where Hawaiians were empowered and colonial hierarchies were often turned upside down. He is currently revising his dissertation to be published in a book form by the University of Hawaii Press. Other than portions of his research that have been published as articles found in the spring 2008 issue of Contemporary Pacific and the November 2005 issue of Pacific Historical Review, he is currently a professor and department chair in the history department, where he teaches World, Hawaiian, and Pacific Islands history, as well as being the vice president of BYU Hawaii. Perfect. And then we will have Brett Scharffs speak, and Brett is the Rex E. Lee Chair and Professor of Law at Brigham Young University J. Reuben Clark Law School. And he is also the Director of the International Center for Law and Religion Studies. His teaching and scholarly interests include law and religion, legal reasoning and rhetoric, philosophy of law and legislation and regulation. We will go ahead and now hear from Isaiah.
I'd like to start today with a traditional welcome, which is significant here to Laie, and it's called the Oli Kahea, or a Melekai, to welcome. Hiki mai e nā pua I ka Laie, ke pia e la I ka mauna kie, ha'a mai nā kama me kama kua, he wehi pūlama o ke kupuna, e ka I mai ana, e ka I mai ana, e hahai ka leo ka hakue. Aloha e, aloha e, aloha e. Mahalo. So brothers and sisters, aloha. I felt I wasn't planning on doing that this morning, but as I was sitting here and I was looking out to the tops of our Ko'olau mountain ranges out here, I felt inspired to give you a little bit of an introduction to our space here in a traditional setting. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints purchased Laie in 1865, but before that, Laie was considered a very sacred place in ancient times in old Hawaii, known as a pu'uhonua. Pu'uhonua is a Hawaiian term that refers to as a kind of a sanctuary, in same ways that most world religions have a sacred spot that is a sanctuary, a place of peace and a place of escape from some of the rigors of life, and also sometimes from the legal structures that are to protect them. So Laie was traditionally a pu'uhonua. So you are on sacred grounds. In many ways, even though the church purchased Laie in 1865, and it entered into a new era of new religious conversion to the community here, it still maintained a lot of that that traditional notion of its identity as a pu'uhonua. And to this day, especially where you're here at BYU Hawaii, the mission of BYU Hawaii is to prepare students from Oceania and the Asian Rim to be lifelong disciples of Jesus Christ and to be leaders in their chosen fields, in their home communities, and in building the kingdom of God. And so students here come from 60 different countries around the world. We have a pretty small campus. There's 3,000 students. But these students come here to embrace the same kind of identity of experiencing this pu'uhonua, an escape from the outside world, a place where they can come and have a capstone type of experience for their careers and for also being leaders. In fact, this place of Laie has always been a very special place where others who've come here over many different generations have felt the sacredness of this place, and I hope while you're here you feel that as well. I'll give you a quick example of how this university started. Was when one of these individuals from Utah, his name was David O. McKay. He was an apostle in our church, and in 1921 he came to Laie, and he was moved by an experience where he sat amongst the community, and particularly one morning when he attended an elementary school, and he watched as he saw the faces of children from around the world. See, Laie, in one of its time periods, was a sugarcane plantation, and we had people here, families from Japan, China, Philippines, Portugal, and of course from Hawaii. And he saw the world in one little place, and it moved him. And so he was inspired to create an institution of higher learning. Took 30 years after that experience, 34 years to be precise, but then BYU Hawaii, the grounds were broken here in 1955, and so we've been here since then. And I hope that while you're here, you feel the specialness and the sacredness of this place, and know that our mission started with an inspired individual who wanted to promote peace internationally and to do it in a place of a pu'uhonua like Laie. So mahalo.
Thank you. Thank you, Academic Vice President Isaiah Walker. On behalf of the International Center for Law and Religion Studies at Brigham Young University, I'd like to join my voice in welcoming all who have gathered here for this important conference. I'd like to thank BYU Hawaii President John Kawai III, Academic Vice President Isaiah Walker, who is one of my heroes for managing to do a PhD on surfing. What an accomplishment. I think this is absolutely fantastic. I'd like to thank everyone involved with the Religious Freedom and Human Dignity Initiative here at BYU Hawaii, including the initiative's faculty advisors, including my former student, Jennifer Kajiyama Tinkham, Professor Aaron Shumway, David Whippy, Rand Blimes, Patiola Thompson, and all of the student fellows, including lead student fellow Regi Levathi, and all of the student volunteers. Could you please join me in thanking them? From our center, I'd like to thank Hannah Smith, who's been our associate director that has been primarily responsible from our side for organizing this event, together with Deborah Wright and Blythe Shoup. To all of the delegates and guests who are here. Our center was created 25 years ago this year, so this is an important year of commemoration for us. We were created with the mission of trying to help foster freedom of religion and belief for all people in all places. We have a major symposium each October at BYU at our campus in Provo, and that has led to 10 regional conferences that we hold each year around the world. And this is our Asia Regional Conference. And it's our third annual conference that we've held here at BYU Hawaii in partnership with this beautiful university in this beautiful setting. 2 years ago, we focused on North Asia, And last year we focused on the islands of the Pacific, Oceania. This year our focus is on Southeast Asia, and we're grateful for the occasion to do this during the year of Malaysia's chairmanship of the ASEAN Treaty Organization. And next year, we hope that the focus of the conference will be on South Asia, Indo-Asia. And so what our hope is that this conference will become a fixture, and it will become a reliable and important gathering, as we believe our symposium in Provo has been. This year will be more than 30 years that we've been holding the symposium in Provo. In recent years, we have been focusing on several areas of emphasis at the International Center. One has been the idea of human dignity for everyone, everywhere. And we have been emphasizing this theme in a variety of ways, including a book on Asian perspectives on human dignity, which arose from the conference that was held here at BYU Hawaii 2 years ago, and another book on Islamic perspectives on human dignity that has arisen out of conferences held in Indonesia and Malaysia with partners of ours who are here at this conference, as well as conferences held in other places, including Qatar. Another area of emphasis has been peacemaking. This, of course, is an important part of the deep identity of BYU Hawaii. And we feel that this area of emphasis and partnership is very important for us with this campus. You may know that peacemaking is one of the majors that students can have here at BYU Hawaii, which is quite unusual for universities in the United States. And the President and Prophet of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Russell M. Nelson, has made one of the signature areas of emphasis of his presidency of the church. He just turned 100 years old. Peacemaking. And he emphasizes it in nearly every public address that he makes to the members of our church. He wants us to become peacemakers, first as we transform ourselves as individuals, secondly, as we transform the relationships with those closest to us, as we transform the congregations in which we worship and serve, and moving outwards in circles to the communities in which we live, the schools in which we learn, and the world in which we live. And another area of emphasis has been the virtues that are cultivated in societies that value religious freedom. The themes of this conference build upon these areas of emphasis. And today we will be focusing on themes that are important to the presidency of Malaysia of the ASEAN Treaty Organization. And so education, peace and justice in times of upheaval, dignified and sustainable economic life, and religious pluralism in ASEAN will all be topics that we'll be focusing on today. And these all relate to the Malaysian ASEAN priorities. And then tomorrow and Friday, we will focus on thematic sessions of what works. So often we gather and talk about the problems that exist, but we will talk about CCRL, cross-cultural literacy, something that works. We'll talk about the Vietnamese religion and rule of law programs, and we'll have a book launch for Professor Do Quang Hung's important book on religion and the rule of law in Vietnam and Southeast Asia, something that works. Successful models for inclusive societies, faith-based civil society programs, things that have worked in the workplace, academic perspectives, and humanitarian public-private partnerships. Our hope is that we will learn from these perspectives and take them with us out into the world. So, welcome. I think we're in for 3 days of generative and really interesting learning one from another. Now it is my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker, Edmund Bontai-Soon, and a respondent, Muhammad Azam Muhammad Adil. Muhammad Azam, if you could come join us here. I will introduce them briefly. H.E. Edmund Bontai-Soon is currently the chair of the ASEAN Intergovernmental Commission on Human Rights and represents Malaysia on the commission. He is a human rights lawyer who has been practicing in Malaysia for more than 20 years. He has his own established law practice in Malaysia and is currently pursuing a PhD at the Institution of Human Rights and Peace, the Maidal University in Thailand. In his role as chair of human rights, he is working on taking the lead in helping draft 2 declarations. And I've tried to do this myself, and it's hard. One on peace and the right to development and the Sustainable Development Goals, and another declaration on environmental rights. Edmund, we're looking forward to hearing from you. After that, we will hear from Muhammad Azam Muhammad Adil. He is the current Director General of the Institute of Islamic Understanding, ICIM. This is the official think tank for the government of Malaysia for Islamic interfaith relations in Malaysia. He has his PhD in Sharia law, and he was formerly the Director General of the Institute of Advanced Islamic Studies, which is the leading Islamic Studies institute in Malaysia, where he was the deputy to Professor Muhammad Hashem Kamali. And for anyone who knows Islamic studies, this is perhaps one of the top 2 or 3 leading Islamic scholars in the world, and a good friend of Professor Durham. And Professor Kamali has been on our center's advisory board since the day our center was founded. So has been a very important friend of our center for a very long time. And Professor Azam has also been an organizer of several important regional conferences in Kuala Lumpur, reaching across Southeast Asia, of which our center has been honored to be a small part. So first to Edmund, and then to Azam. Edmund, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Professor Brett, and thank you very much for the kind invitation and for welcoming us, Isaiah. With that, I'm sure for speaking for all of us from the floor, coming from Southeast Asia and flying almost 10, 14 hours, we would acknowledge and recognize the welcome that you have provided us and allowing us to congregate here at these lands. And thank you also for letting us know about the history, that this is something that which we really appreciate. And also, Professor Brett, I'm not going to have anything exceptional and will not be able to match any PhD on surfing today, but I've just been asked to provide some of my thoughts, and I will do my best. I want to again thank the International Center for Law and Religion Studies and the co-host for organizing this important conference to deliberate on the nexus between human dignity, freedom of religion, and belief and peace in Southeast Asia. This topic is really apt. Malaysia chairs the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, and the ASEAN Intergovernmental Commission on Human Rights, ICHA, this year. Our guiding ASEAN theme for 2025 is inclusivity and sustainability, which is also at the heart of Malaysia's Madani concept. I want to acknowledge as well and thank the organizers for inviting my colleagues at the Commission Ambassador Yong from Lao PDR is here. He was the former chair of the ICHA in 2024. Professor Eugene Tan from Singapore, he's the ICHA representative from Singapore back there. He represents Singapore on the commission. And you will see Ibu Yuyun Wahyununggrum there, who was the former ICHA representative for Indonesia for 6 years, and also the ICHA Indonesia chair previously. So I am in good company, and I have to follow very large footsteps in trying to lead this commission this year. Malaysia last chaired ASEAN in 2015, when the ASEAN Community Vision 2025 Forging Ahead Together was adopted. This year, once again, under Malaysia's chairmanship, ASEAN will adopt a new vision for the next 20 years. Inclusivity is not merely a goal, it is a call to action. It demands that we listen to those made vulnerable and marginalized. They include women, children, persons with disabilities, indigenous peoples, Orang Asli, Orang Asal, migrant workers, refugees, asylum seekers, stateless persons, ethnic, religious, linguistic, and gender minorities, and human rights and environmental rights defenders. It is when we design processes that work well for those at most disadvantaged that we know that these will work to advance human rights for all. Defining inclusivity in the context of religious pluralism requires recognizing more than just the coexistence of different faiths. It calls for active respect, equal participation, and protection of rights across all belief systems, including non-belief. It refers to the intentional and equitable engagement of all individuals and communities, regardless of their religious beliefs or non-beliefs, in political, social, economic, and cultural life. It ensures that every person has the freedom to practice, express, change, or reject religion without fear of discrimination, marginalization, or violence. True inclusivity goes beyond tolerance. It accepts different beliefs, values diversity, fosters dialogue, and safeguards the rights of all to contribute to society on an equal footing. Chairing the ICHA as Malaysia's representative to the body, human rights is at the core of our work. When I speak about inclusivity in the same sentence as human rights, I speak about ensuring that every person's right to profess, practice, and manifest his or her thought, conscience, belief, and religion is protected. Through Article 10 of the ASEAN Human Rights Declaration 2012, ASEAN member states have affirmed all the civil and political rights in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR. Specifically, Article 22 guarantees that every person has a right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. All forms of intolerance, discrimination, and incitement of hatred based on religion and beliefs shall be eliminated. However, the debate which occurred when Article 22 was being negotiated is evidence of the contestations among ASEAN countries over the limitations that can be placed on the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. For example, whether regional and national particularities should influence the interpretation of universal rights, with concerns that these could be justified to restrict religious freedom. Second, whether the requirements of national security, public order, public health, public safety, public morality, and the general welfare of the peoples in a democratic society can be used as a pretext to justify discrimination against minority groups. Third, whether the broader concern of inter-religious harmony can be better protected with the prohibition of incitement to hatred based on religion and beliefs. These tensions are far from settled. Over the decades, Southeast Asia has not been immune from widespread violations of human rights on the grounds of religion and belief. My office still receives complaints on many of these cases. Executive and judicial action that may amount to religious persecution and discrimination based on religion under international human rights law have been reported. Despite the challenges we face, it is important to recognize the progress ASEAN has made through regional initiatives to nurture acceptance and tolerance, promote pluralism, and prevent violence in our region. In 2017, ASEAN responded to the rising tide of radicalization and violent extremism with the Manila Declaration to counter the rise of radicalization and violent extremism, reaffirming our shared commitment to peace and moderation. Central to this effort is meaningful community engagement, particularly with youth, women, religious leaders, and groups in vulnerable situations, ensuring that our peace-building efforts are inclusive, responsive, and grounded in the realities of our diverse societies. That same year, 2017, ASEAN adopted the ASEAN Declaration on Culture of Prevention for a peaceful, inclusive, resilient, healthy, and harmonious society, a framework built on 6 pillars to foster mutual understanding, to prevent racial, religious distrust and disharmony, counter intolerance, and promote literacy and respect across our diverse societies. The AICHA has made strides in advancing the right to freedom of religion and belief across the region. Regional forums have been convened for member states to exchange best practices, confront the rise of hate speech, and explore the critical intersections between the right, gender equality, and the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. These forums are more than platforms for dialogue. They strengthen regional policy frameworks and foster deeper solidarity across faiths and borders. Importantly, these discussions have generated concrete recommendations, including the development of counter-narratives to hate speech and violent extremism, prosecution of those responsible for vigilante attacks and intimidation based on religion or belief, the establishment of preventive measures and an early warning mechanism, and the issuance of human rights guidance and advice on the right to freedom of religion and belief by the Commission. AICHA's work has also focused on post-pandemic realities, examining how freedom of religion and belief is intertwined with digital expression and inclusive development. By addressing challenges such as online hate speech and safeguarding digital religious freedoms, AICHA has demonstrated its evolving and responsive approach to human rights in Southeast Asia. The ASEAN Institute for Peace and Reconciliation, ASEAN IPR, has become a cornerstone of ASEAN's peace-building architecture. Through research, training, and capacity building, it has supported conflict resolution and promoted inclusive and sustainable peace. A particular highlight of ASEAN's IPR's work is its leadership in advancing the Women, Peace and Security agenda. It spearheaded the creation of the ASEAN Women for Peace Registry, AWPR, in 2018, which identifies and empowers women experts across the region to play active roles in peace processes. This initiative supports ASEAN's commitment to integrating gender perspectives into all conflict prevention and resolution strategies, reaffirming our belief that peace is strongest when it is inclusive. This year, and as Professor Brett mentioned, Malaysia has proposed through AICHA for the adoption of an ASEAN Declaration on promoting the right to development and peace towards realizing inclusive and sustainable development. We hope it will accelerate ASEAN's progress in advancing a human rights agenda that is both people-oriented and people-centered through an ASEAN-led approach, one that unites our region in the pursuit of peace, equitable growth, and a future where no one is left behind. I close with this conviction. Peace is not merely the absence of conflict. It is the presence of justice, the assurance of dignity, and the promise of equality. It means creating the space for every person, regardless of faith, background, or belief, to be seen, heard, and valued. The journey towards peace may be long and at times uneven, but it is a journey worth taking because it leads us to a future where all can live not only in safety but with purpose and pride. The late Kofi Annan once said, and I quote, we must also broaden our view of what is meant by peace and security. Peace means much more than the absence of war. Human security can no longer be understood in purely military terms. Rather, it must encompass economic development, social justice, environmental protection, democratization, disarmament, and respect for human rights and the rule of law. This means that we need to have conditions allowing every individual to flourish, to realize their full potential, and to live with dignity. Let us be builders of those conditions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, selamat pagi. On behalf of IKIM, I would like to thank both Professor Scharffs and also Professor Brigham, of course, for this wonderful collaboration. Before, I would like to share the collaboration that we have been involved with, particularly with ICRC. I would like to mention a bit of what IKIM is doing. IKIM, or what we call it, the Islamic Institute of Understanding Malaysia, it is the Islamic think tank that promotes a better understanding of Islam among Muslims and non-Muslims, particularly through research, education, and dialogue. It acts as a think tank focusing on understanding Islam's relevance in the modern world and promoting Islamic values in various aspects of life, including environmental education. I have known both Professor Scharffs and Professor Brigham when I was still at IS Malaysia. That was in 2013, not mistaken. Since then, we have been collaborating in such a way. I've been invited to Provo, Utah twice, and also to several other places, including Hawaii, and this is the second time in Hawaii. We had collaborated for several important events, such as in 2023, in July, where we had co-organized International Symposium on Upholding Human Dignity for Peaceful Coexistence in Kuala Lumpur. Prior to that, it came together with BYU. We had a series of focus group discussion in preparing the Harmony Charter that involving various faiths. In 2024, in particular on the 6th and 7th of August, we, together with BYU and other collaborators, had this regional Southeast Asia Human Dignity Conference with the theme Dignity for Everyone, Everywhere, Best Practices, Success Stories for Building Inclusive Societies. We are quite fortunate then that we had His Royal Highness Sultan Nazrin, who's not Sultan of Perak, but he's a deputy king, and inshallah, God willing, will be the next king, gave the royal address, which is quite important, not only for Malaysia, but I think for the Muslim world. We are in the process of publishing the text, the original text in English. We have translated it into Bahasa, Melayu, where I think majority of us from Indonesia can also benefit from it, and also into Arabic. So inshallah, we'll be publishing it soon. And alhamdulillah, in Hawaii, since yesterday, together with the other collaborators, we are having this third annual Religious Freedom and Human Dignity Conference taking place in this beautiful campus of BYU. On the theme of human dignity and ASEAN pursuing peaceful and inclusive societies in Southeast Asia. It's quite important because of Malaysia as a chairman, having this chairmanship of ASEAN, and we had that discussion last year, where it's quite important for us to talk about this, this human dignity from the perspective of these ASEAN countries, Southeast Asian countries. I would like to share that we are in the final stage of having this, what we call it, the most important charter for Malaysia, being a multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religious society, where this Harmony Charter, which was developed through the series of focus group discussion, where we had the opportunity with BYU, Inshallah, God willing, we will be submitting it to the Prime Minister, and we have consultation with His Royal Highness Sultan Nazrin before. And once it is approved, it will be implemented for the whole country. I would like to thank Professor Scharffs, Professor Durham, Mr. Eugene, Pak Matthews, ICRS, BYU, Institute Lemina, RFI, Simultaneology, and everyone here at this campus or everywhere on this earth for these wonderful collaborations. And on behalf of IKIM, we look forward to collaborating with others for the sake of human dignity, everyone, everywhere. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.